2012, a 911 dispatcher in Park County, Texas, picks up the phone expecting the usual: a burglary, a fight, a car accident. Instead, a teenage boy calmly says, "I killed my mother and my sister." Not, "I think they're dead," not, "someone broke into my house." He says, "I killed them." And then, almost as if he's discussing the weather, he explains that he isn't angry, he isn't hysterical, he isn't running. He is simply sitting in the house, waiting for the police to arrive. Today, we're diving into one of the most chilling family murders in recent American history. A case with no clear motive, a teenager who claimed he'd been thinking about murder for years, and a confession so unsettling that investigators still struggle to understand what they were hearing. I'm Justin Droke, and this is Twisted Mysteries. Let's jump into today's story. When people think of family murders, they often expect warning signs: neighbors who heard arguments, friends who noticed bruises, teachers who reported strange behavior. But the Evans family didn't fit that picture. They lived in a quiet community west of Fort Worth, Texas. Jake Evans was 17 years old. His mother, Jamie, was 48, and his younger sister, Mallory, was only 15. Jake's father worked hard to provide for the family, and by most accounts, they lived a fairly ordinary life. There was no history of violent crime, no reports of severe abuse, no public evidence of a family spiraling into chaos. To outsiders, they looked normal. But sometimes, the darkest stories happen behind ordinary doors. Jake wasn't known as a violent criminal. He wasn't a gang member. He wasn't dealing drugs. He wasn't constantly getting arrested or in trouble at all, for that matter. Instead, people described him as quiet, reserved, maybe a little distant, the kind of teenager who could disappear into the background. But inside his own head, something very different was happening. Years later, investigators would learn that Jake claimed he'd been thinking about killing people for a very long time. Not one person, not one enemy, people in general. And those thoughts were becoming harder for him to ignore. Months before the murders, Jake started planning. He stole a .22 revolver from his grandfather. He kept the weapon hidden. He thought about who would die. He thought about how it would happen. And according to his own confession, his mother and sister were not the only targets. His grandparents, his older sisters, nearly his entire family. This wasn't a sudden explosion of rage. It was a list, a plan, one victim after another. What's perhaps most disturbing is that Jake would later admit he wasn't particularly angry with any of them. He just simply wanted to kill. That statement alone separates this case from many others. There was no custody battle, no insurance money, no affair, no revenge. The act itself seemed to be the point. Then Jake watched a horror movie, one many of us have probably seen before, Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween. The film follows Michael Myers, a young man who murders members of his own family before embarking on a killing spree. Jake would later tell investigators that watching the movie made him wonder, could he do the same thing? It's an important distinction. Police never claimed the movie caused the murders. Jake himself said it influenced him. The violent thoughts were already there. The movie just simply became part of the fantasy. On October 3rd of 2012, Jake knew his father was out of town. He knew who was home, his mother, his younger sister. He had a gun, and he had a plan. Late that night, he called for Mallory, and she came downstairs. She trusted her brother. She had no reason not to. Jake raised the revolver, and he fired. The gunshots shattered the silence of the house. Mallory collapsed. Then Jake went looking for his mother. Jamie heard the commotion and she came out of her study to investigate. She found her son armed. She never had a chance. Jake fired again, and within minutes, his mother and sister were dead. And according to the plan, the killing should have continued. His grandparents lived right across the street nearby. His older sisters were also intended victims, but something unexpected happened. Jake stopped. He would later write that killing wasn't what he had imagined it to be. The reality horrified him. He didn't enjoy it. He abandoned the rest of his plan, and he picked up the phone. Here is a recording of the 911 call made by Jake shortly after the murders.
Dr. Kimmy 911, where's your emergency?
My house,
What's the address?
152 River Creek Lane.
Okay, what's the emergency?
I just killed my mom and my sister.
What?
I just killed my mom and my sister.
You just killed your mother and your sister? How did you do that?
They shot him with a 22 revolver.
And what is your name?
Jake Evans.
Jay Evans?
Jake Evans.
Are you sure they're dead? I want you to stay on the phone with me, okay? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Hold on just a minute. Where's the gun?
On the kitchen counter.
Okay. It's a 22?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Stay on the line with me, okay?
All right.
The dispatcher answers. Jake calmly explains, I killed my mother and my sister. There was no screaming, no panic, no attempt to escape. He apologizes. He cooperates. He gives directions and he waits. The dispatcher asks questions and Jake answers them. At one point, he says something that investigators would never forget.
Okay, is there any reason that you were so angry at your mother and your sister?
I don't know. I wasn't. It's weird. I wasn't even really angry with them. It just kind of happened. I've been kind of planning on killing for a while now.
The two of them, or just anybody?
Pretty much anybody.
Why?
I don't know. I don't really like people's kind of attitude.
Right.
I think they're very like, emotional. I don't know, verbally rude to each other and stuff like that.
Right.
And I don't know.
It's okay.
It's just my family. I don't know. They're just kind of really. I guess this is really selfish to say, but to me, I felt like they were just suffocating me in a way. I don't know. I think obviously, I'm pretty, I guess, evil, but that's, whatever.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's all right. I'm listening. Okay, you have my undivided attention. Were your mom and sister in their beds?
No. This is really gonna mess me up for this, in the future. See, my sister, I told my sister that my mom needed her.
Mm-hmm.
She was in her room, and she came out of her room, and I shot her, and she rolled down the stairs, and I shot her again, and then I went down and I shot my mom about maybe 3 or 4 times but I'll never forget this.
Okay, that's fine.
My sister, she came down the stairs and she was screaming, and I was telling her that I'm sorry, but to just hold still. That, I was just gonna make it go away, but she just kept on freaking out. But finally she fell down and I shot her in the head about probably 3 times.
So they're both downstairs?
Yes.
He wasn't really angry with them. Another question. Had he planned this? Yes. Another question. Had he planned to kill anyone else? His answer? Pretty much anybody. Think about that. The dispatcher is talking to a 17-year-old boy who has just murdered his family, and he sounds almost detached from reality. As the conversation continues, Jake admits something else. He thought killing would feel different. He thought it would be easy. Instead, he feels sick. He feels worried. He'll have nightmares. For nearly 20 minutes, the call continues, and the dispatcher keeps him talking. Police arrive. Jake surrenders without a fight. The gun is recovered, and the nightmare is over for everyone except for the surviving members of his family. So why? Why did this happen? This is the question everyone asks. Why his mother? Why his sister? Why anyone? Investigators searched for answers, and they found no simple explanation. Jake said he just felt suffocated. He said people were rude. He said he'd fantasized about murder. But those answers never really fully explained the crime. Psychologists and criminologists have debated the case for years. Was he suffering from a severe mental illness? Was he emotionally detached? Did violent fantasies slowly evolve into reality? No single answer has ever satisfied everyone. Perhaps that's what makes this case so terrifying. There may not be a reason that makes sense. Here I'd like to take a minute to read a part of Jake's written confession given to police. Please be advised that this is Jake's own detailing of the murders of his mom and sister. In this, he wrote, "After a while, I thought to myself that if I were to kill my mom and Mallory, I wouldn't want them to feel anything. So I decided to kill them with the .22 revolver I stole from my grandpa. I told Mallory that I needed to go downstairs for a little bit, and after I saw that my mom was in the study, I went to my closet and picked up the pistol. I set it on the bed and was nervously opening the cylinder over and over again. I then spent probably over an hour walking nervously around the house, thinking how life will never be the same and how I would never see them again. Around 11:15, I went upstairs with the pistol and stood there for about 5 minutes. I knocked on the door and told Mallory that Mom needed her. She came out, and out of the corner of her eye, she saw me, pointing the gun at her. She thought I was joking and told me that I was freaking her out. I shot her in the back and then the head. I ran down to the study and shot my mom 3 times. I ran to my room and I was screaming at the top of my lungs that I'm really messed up and that I killed my mom and sister. I emptied the shells on my bed. I heard noises and I realized that Mallory was still alive. While I loaded the gun back up, then ran as fast as I could to kill her, I then made sure my mom was dead and shot her again in the head. After the shooting, I walked outside for a few minutes and then came back inside. Very shocked and scared, I placed the gun on the kitchen counter. I walked into the living room to dial 911, where when I look at people, especially teenagers, I see them as being very cruel to one another emotionally. It seems that their favorite hobby is picking on someone else. The people who are racists, bullies, and who are full of themselves are the really evil ones. Jake Evans was arrested immediately. Because he was 17, the legal process became complicated. Eventually, he accepted a plea agreement. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison. His father lost a wife. His surviving sisters lost their mother and sister. An entire family was shattered. and 2 empty chairs remain at every family gathering that followed. There's an uncomfortable truth hidden inside this story. We want monsters to look like monsters. We want evil to announce itself. We want warning signs, but sometimes a quiet teenager living in a quiet neighborhood can hide thoughts no one around them ever sees. Jake Evans once wondered what it would feel like to kill. He found out. And according to his own words, the answer wasn't satisfaction, it was horror. But by then it was too late. 2 innocent lives were gone, a family was destroyed, and a single phone call became one of the most haunting confessions in modern true crime history. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate all of your support. For episode photos and video links, check out my Instagram at twisted.mysteries. You can also subscribe to my channel. You can find me at Twisted Mysteries 26. I would also like to mention that there may be sometimes I use pseudonyms to protect the people involved, and some of the events may have been embellished or dramatized for entertainment purposes. Case sources include cbsnews.com, reddit.com, abcnews.com, dallasnews.com, spokesman.com, foxnews.com. The written statement of Jake's confession came from documentingreality.com, and the 911 call came from Vimeo at vimeo.com, and I will also copy a link in the episode description. Thank you again for supporting this podcast. Until next time, stay twisted.